In 2022, I took what felt like a very large investment and somewhat of a risk. I invested into planting about $1,200 worth of woody shrubs in August of 2022. And boy, am I glad that I did, because I am standing in the midst of my investment right here. It has paid off dividends. So if you want to know what I planted in 2022 and what it looks like today, and my honest review of the plants that I planted then, then stick around for this video. My name is Ruth Ann. I am from Abundant Blooms Flower Farm in Dorr, Michigan, where I farm on about an acre, raise up my 5 children, homeschool them, and provide educational content to other flower farmers like yourself. So let's just dive right in. You know the saying, the best time to plant a tree is yesterday. Well, that kind of has the same, effect in the woody shrub department. In 2022, I started farming in 2020. This is my 7th season that I'm wrapping up. And I had about $1,000 to invest back into my farm. And basically the choice was I could plant tulips and, buy some bulbs. I'm not sure if bulbs are that much of an investment, or well, tulip bulbs anyway. If you want to know more about how I feel about tulips, I have a video about that. But anyway, I could buy tulip bulbs for about $1,000, or I could buy woody shrubs. And I chose to buy woody shrubs, and I bought about 120 of them. I didn't buy, $10,000 worth. I just had about $1,000, and I invested into woody shrubs, which I bought from Spring Meadow Nursery, which is local to me relatively. It's in Grand Haven. And so that was also really lovely because you can pick up from them or they ship. But, being able to pick up saved me a couple $100, obviously, but they do ship anywhere in the United States and into Canada. So I took what I felt like was a risk and I planted these woody shrubs. It is like the best decision I ever made for my flower farm. It really, really, truly is. And I know so many of you are here for the woody content. So let's just take a little step back and talk about why woody shrubs? Why do they even matter? Why should they have a place on your farm? Should they have a place on your farm? And that might depend on your farm's goals and, what you want for your farm. But for me, I wanted to stand apart from other flower farmers. I didn't want to have the annual grind of all annuals. An acre of annuals is a lot of work by yourself or on a small scale, and I was much smaller then. What I'm standing in the midst of here, none of this was here. No high tunnel, no nothing. This was grass, which we don't really know what that is very much anymore. I was thinking futuristically. I'm thinking about the future. Jenny Love always says woody shrubs are your retirement plan. They're definitely an investment. They're definitely an investment of space, right? You're committing space. I mean, you can rip things out, but you're really committing long-term space, 12 months out of the year, square footage to these shrubs. So they have to be able to really pull their weight. I think I've found the ones that really pull their weight, and I'll tell you the ones that didn't, and I've ripped some out. But I also think they make you stand apart from other flower farmers. They give you diversity on your farm. The number of praying mantises that I have found on my farm, they are literally everywhere, and there was none that I saw really before I started planting woody shrubs. And a few years later, I have praying mantises positively everywhere. I have praying mantis egg sacs everywhere. Just thousands of them are all over my farm because I really think it's because of the woody shrubs and the diversity that bringing in native shrubs and woody shrubs to your property gives you that you don't have when you only have annuals growing. That being said, I think I should caution you. I don't think first year flower farmers or before you start flower farming that you have to invest into woody shrubs. I did not. Like, people think of me as having a lot of woodies and perennials, and I do, but I also find a lot of new flower farmers are buying all the things and investing into all the things, and they don't even really have a market. They don't have a way to sell them, and they're investing thousands of dollars into an expensive investment, and they don't even have sales channels, markets, money. And this farm, one of our values is not going into debt. So we never went into debt to buy any of this, not to buy our high tunnel, not to buy any shrubs. In 2024, I added over $10,000 worth of woodies to my farm, about 1,000 more. Yeah, we didn't go into debt for any of that. The farm pays for it. And so that's just one of our values. And I would just encourage you to not, jump in too quickly and to have a market for them. I had a market, and yes, they take some time to mature, but anyway, just a slight caution. I started for the first 2 years of my flower farm 100% seed grown annuals that I started myself. Like I didn't buy plugs, I didn't buy woodies, I didn't buy bulbs, I didn't have money to buy that stuff. I mean, I was trying to like, put in some irrigation line and, buy, real, things I really couldn't hardly farm without. So that's just a word of caution. Now let's get into it. So here's why, I like them. So they're the backbone really of my fall crop. Like this is my fall crops, a large portion of my fall crops. Now you can obviously have spring crops also with blooming branches, which is a benefit of woodies, is that they can actually get you earlier blooming crops, especially here in the north. But my first round didn't really include a lot of those. That's not to say they're wrong or bad or they couldn't have, but this is just what I ended up choosing. And I'll get into what I chose. They're more resilient to temperature swings. They're more resilient to drought once they're established and stuff like that. So they really do give you breadth to your farm. They add, an element. They're adding texture. They're adding, this is viburnum. They're just adding diversity and adding texture and adding what I don't think annuals can always give you. We're going to talk about exactly the shrubs that I planted in 2022. So I'm just going to list them and then we're going to come back and I'm going to kind of walk through what each one of them looks like today. And if they're still on my farm, because there's one that's missing. So I planted 16 Winecraft Black Smokebush. I planted 16 Tinywine Gold Ninebark, 16 Summerwine Ninebark, 16 Gingerwine Ninebark, 16 Viburnum, Glitters and Glows, 16 Bridal Veil Spirea, 16 Symphoricarpos, the Proudberry Coral Bells, or Proudberry Coralberry, the Snowberry, 16 Bloomerang Lilacs, and 16 Invincibelle Spirit II Hydrangeas. I also planted, I think, 16 Mount Wasana willow, which all died. And I think that was because I planted the rest of them over here and I planted them on the other side of the driveway and I just don't think I watered them enough, to be completely honest. Every single one of them died. So those died. None of the other ones died. So like 0% of them, they all lived. So that's what I planted. Here is my review. The Winecraft Black Smokebush is over here. I started selling it 3 weeks ago. I'm half sold out of it. Like I've sold a couple hundred stems already. So yeah, people love it. I love it. It's just a fantastic crop. I cut it every year. I cut every stem. I don't let anything go to a second year. You would get smoke on it, but I can sell it all in year one. So that's what I do. It's a pretty good producer. It took like a year and then it started producing a couple of stems. And then by year 2 and 3, and now it's year 4, it produces a lot. Okay, Tinywine Gold Ninebark. This is positively the most productive Ninebark I've ever grown. Spoiler alert, they don't sell this one anymore. Sorry, but everybody wants it. But it's really amazing. It produces, I literally think I have thousands of stems. I've never actually sold out of it, but I'm getting into it. I got a good chunk of it sold already. So part of these things like the smokebush and the Ninebark, which actually I have a video all about growing it and harvesting it. So if you want to learn more about that, I have a video all about specifically those two shrubs together because they're kind of similar in how you plant and harvest them. But basically you have to wait until the new growth is woody enough, sturdy enough, mature enough to cut. If you cut it in the beginning of June or in the middle of June, like it looks lovely, but it's just the tips are just gonna crash and wilt. So no matter what you do, that's gonna happen. So I like to wait till August, maybe like the end of July, I'll start cutting on it. But once you hit August, like you're kind of golden. So at least in Michigan. Now, it might be different in different parts of the country, but because obviously you would have an earlier spring or a later spring. Okay, so then the next one is the Summerwine Ninebark. So that one's the darkest Ninebark. It's pretty tall. It sells really well in the fall. It's very similar to Diablo, if you're familiar with that. But it is also really great. I love it. It's right here. So it's very dark. It has like a medium leaf. And I mean, I sold all of it last year. So there's a whole row of it. You can see it's pretty big and robust and I sold it all. The next one is the Gingerwine Ninebark. That's over here, right here. So you can tell I start cutting on it in the front and kind of work my way back. So these are kind of like the smaller, shorter stems, but like the big tall stuff is back there. So that's the Gingerwine Ninebark, and I love Gingerwine Ninebark. It's such a great color. It's super tall. It's very robust. It's really great. I have had a little bit of issue with some of my Ninebarks getting like this funny, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like the leaves fold over on each other and make these brown spots. I had it really badly last year, and I don't really have it this year at all. So last year I had trouble at the end of the season with it kind of turning brown and some of it wasn't sellable. But anyway, I need to get my soil tested right here and like try and make sure that it's okay. But it did a lot better this year. I fertilized it in July and I don't know if that helped or what. You know, they're not without any problems, but mostly like pests and disease don't bother. Well, they can get powdery mildew, but these are powdery mildew resistant. And I actually had some powdery mildew in June on them, kind of freaked out, you know, treated them because I like this is my whole fall crop, or not my whole fall crop, but this is a huge portion of my fall sales and my fall crop. This is like what I'm known for. This is what people know me for. Like I just had a florist order 50 bunches of foliage for me for one wedding. It was a combination of smokebush and different Ninebarks, but like that's why she's coming to me, because she can get all this stuff from me. So anyway, this is like what I'm known for. I didn't want to lose it all to powdery mildew. So they can get powdery mildew, especially if you're in the South. And then, but like Japanese beetles don't really eat them. They just don't have a lot of pest pressure typically. And then they're crawling with praying mantises. So that's great. The Ninebarks, I know I said there's a whole video about them, but just briefly, like they start producing really quite quickly. Like I planted them in August, and that next year I was able to harvest off of them a little bit. And then the next year though, I was harvesting a lot off of them. Like by year 2, I mean, they had paid for themselves plus way, you know, well, in the first year, they actually like paid for themselves. Like I covered the cost of the planting. Actually, the sales from the smokebush and the Ninebark in 2023 covered the cost of the whole woody investment. So I was like, well, this is good. Now it's paid for. Anything from then has been, you know, added on. So they really start producing quite a few stems pretty early. So that just makes them really great. Okay, the next one is Viburnum Glitters and Glows. That's what's actually right here. This one is great. It's really healthy. It's getting really big, but this is an investment of time. This took like 3 years. Last year, I just started barely cutting off of it. And then this year, I feel like, okay, this is actually finally like a real shrub that I'm really able to cut off of. It blooms and produces berries on old wood. So that's why I haven't like cut the whole thing down, because I don't want to cut all of next year's berries off of it. So I have berries on it now. They'll turn blue and I'll sell them in the fall in a couple of weeks. I did harvest off them in the spring. Also, like they're just a very, very versatile crop. You can harvest just the foliage and sell just the foliage. You can harvest the blooms like before they bloom. If you harvest them when they're actually blooming, they just kind of shatter, but like in the bud stage they hold, they're gorgeous. I sold like 15 bunches of them like immediately as soon as I listed them. And then the foliage sells, and you can sell them in this green berry, and you can sell them in blue. Like you can sell them all times of the year, so they'd make a really, really versatile crop. You can sell them in spring, summer, and fall, like all different things. And so they're really, really great. I wish I had more of them, but I do actually have more of them, but they're not very big. So they just take time, in my experience, like 3 years to cut a single stem off of it. And then really like a 4th year to make them really producing. And then you have to be careful, because if you cut them all 1 year, you're not going to have any berries the next, which is okay. I mean, you can sell the foliage. So that's kind of my brief overview of that. But they are a really good crop. When I planted again in 2024, I actually planted a lot more viburnum, and I planted different varieties of them, and some of them are still really small. It was because it was 2 years ago. I haven't harvested a single stem off of any of them. Okay, the next one is Bridal Veil Spirea. I don't know if it's like the cultivar or the variety, but it's extremely slow growing. I still have not harvested off of it. And I really think it's the cultivar. Like you really want the common, big, huge, cultivar that you see, or I see them on other people's, property. Like I know people with these massive spirea bushes, and I'm just like, well, why isn't mine like that? And I actually have spoken to some other farmers, and they're like, no, they should be really big. So I think what you really need is like the common variety. They're not bad. They're healthy. I'm just like, still waiting on them. Okay, then the next one is Symphoricarpos, which I planted the Proudberry Coralberry. Again, these are all from Spring Meadow. I love Symphoricarpos. I think I have 5 different varieties on my farm now. And I have a whole video all about Snowberry. You should check that one out too, if you want to know like how to plant, how to harvest, different things. But I just think snowberries are like, you're tired, it's fall, end of August, and like maybe your cosmos aren't maturing well, or maybe your zinnias are getting destroyed, or maybe something got blown over. And then you just have this Symphoricarpos that's like, oh, hello, I'm here. I have all these gorgeous stems. sell, like they're amazing. And every year I'm just like, oh, I just love these so much. Like, I'm like, can I get more of them? I mean, I still feel like, can I get more of these? How many snowberries are too many? But I mean, people are like waiting for me. My florists are like, do you have your snowberries yet? Are your snowberries mature yet? And mine are just, my early varieties are just barely starting to mature. I'm hoping to sell some next week. So, but one of the great things about snowberry is they will positively, in one season, they will give you crops. So I planted them in August, right, of 2022. In 2023, I sold, like, I don't remember how many, but I sold a lot of them. And then they just keep getting more and more robust. So they're a very quick turnaround. If you need a good pick me up, like you need something that's going to turn around really quickly, snowberries will. I've even ordered them from Farmer Bailey, and he has a bunch of other varieties. Spring Meadow only carries, at the time, only carried the pink one, and now they have a brand new white one. So I'm really excited. I'm getting a sample of that, the white one from Spring Meadow, here soon. So I'm really excited to try their white one. But they didn't even have white when I ordered, and I've been like, oh, I wish they had a white one. Farmer Bailey carries several varieties, including different white ones. So I do have multiple white ones. They mature at different times. So they're really, really great. I just love Snowberry. Okay, then the next one on the list is I planted the Invincibelle Spirit II Hydrangea. And again, that one was really a very quick turnaround. Not like it didn't produce hundreds of stems in 2023, but it gave me a couple, which is super, which I don't think I really harvested off of it in 2023 at all, because I wanted it to produce roots, and it wasn't a ton, but it's enough to see what it looks like, which is exciting. But then in 2024 I harvested a lot off of it. In 2025, I mean, I think hundreds of stems. And then this year it looks really great. I had some issues on my farm with a really late frost. Like, we had an early warm April and a warm early April, and then the end of April we had some really cold days, wiped out 80% of my peonies, like damaged a lot of my baptisia. Like, some of it was okay, but some of it wasn't. And then I was noticing on my Invincibelle Spirit II hydrangeas, I was like, boy, there's just like, they just don't seem as full. Well, it blooms on old and new wood. It's a hydrangea arborescens, or a smooth hydrangea, and it didn't bloom on any old wood. Like, the old wood didn't grow, only the new wood grew. But I still had a lot. I still had a lot of them. Like, I'm not trying to say like I lost the whole crop, but I definitely had less stems this year just because of that spring event, which affected multiple other things on my farm too. They're fine. Like, the plants are fine. They're going to come back strong next year. So I sell literally every single stem of them. Like, I was like, oh, are people going to like these? Oh, no. Like, they're gone. They're completely sold out. Like, they bloom a little bit varying times. So I have a couple that are slightly behind, but I'll show you footage of what it literally looks like this morning. And like, last week I had way more, and the week before, and like, I just am selling positively every one of them. So they're a pretty cool hydrangea. They're pink, and you don't want to harvest them in that stage. I wait till they mature a little bit and they age into like this neutral pink, like a blush pink, like a blushy green pink, and then they turn completely green. And people love them in all stages. They just love them. Like, I want more. I need twice as many, or I feel like I could have 3 times as many. I'm ordering more shrubs, by the way. I have a tiny bit of space. I do not have a lot of space left on my farm. You're like, oh, well, we don't need this, we don't need 10 feet between us and the neighbors. We surely can plant another header row of shrubs. So anyway, once you get started, you might just keep plucking them in different places. All right, then the last one, this is the last one, is I planted 16 Bloomerang Lilacs. Okay, here's my spiel about the Bloomerang Lilacs. I don't like them. I do not think they're good for cut flowers. They were beautiful bushes, like lovely. They have like a super short bloom window, which like 4 days. And like, you never know when that bloom window is coming. Like, a week ahead, you're like, I don't know when they're going to bloom. You really don't know. It's completely dependent on the weather, and it's super short bloom window, and then a super short vase life. And I tried all these different things to try and get them to be a better vase life. They are a small lilac. Like, they're not like these big French lilacs. We had a lilac tree growing up, and we climbed it and we loved it. They were just big blooms. And so the Bloomerang lilacs are really small, and they produced a lot. They were super healthy plants. And every year I'm like, oh, I probably should just rip these out. Like, I don't know. I didn't really sell them, or I tried to sell them and I had to be like, sorry, they're bad. They would rebloom and give you like sporadic blooms in August, which is kind of fun to look at. But like, like the whole shrub would have like 10 or 15 blooms and you never know when they're going to be. So it's just not a reliable crop. I do not think they are a good cut flower lilac. So I just got a couple of other lilacs, like 4, like French varieties. So I'd like to add a few more lilacs to my farm, but I did not like the Bloomerang lilacs at all. Would I invest into these again? Yes. And I have, and I'm going to invest more. And then in 2024, I made a big investment into like almost 1,000 more shrubs from Spring Meadow and from Farmer Bailey. And that is a whole nother story. And I'm actually going to be sharing that whole video in my membership, the Abundant Blooms Collective, which has almost 100 flower farmers in it, and it's just such a great community. I just have been blown away by how flower farmers are working together and people from different parts of the country. I mean, one farmer was trying to sell some stuff and another farmer was like, oh, contact this florist because she lives in the same town, and she sold her flowers because the other flower farmer in there was helping her. And it's just such a beautiful community. It's just been filling me up so much. So I am going to be putting that in-depth video about the 2024 woodies and the update from them in the membership. It's just been a really great community. We have a live Q&A once a month, and you can post your questions, and I do a podcast, a private podcast every week for the members, and I'm building out other courses as well. There's other resources for new flower farmers, and there's expert interviews like Wanda from Fox Hollow Peonies did a whole extra hour that's in there, a whole extra nitty-gritty hour. So it's just a really, really fun place, like total shameless plug here. Like if you want to invest into your farm, it really is a great way to build community with other flower farmers and, you know, become a focused, profitable farm. I always invested into education in the off season, and we're not done with the season yet, but we're coming to the end. And I just think that there's so much value in it. And I've got some really exciting book clubs planned for this winter, and that's where I'm really hoping to really dive into it and really add more content. I'm actually putting it on sale right now, like end of summer special. It's going to be $22 a month instead of $27, so it doesn't go on sale very often, and I just think we all need like a pick-me-up. Like, so if you want to join the collective, it's going to be on sale for a couple of days. Join the collective and join like-minded flower farmers, and we're all working together and selling our flowers. It's so exciting to see people making florist sales and roadside farm sales and working together. So let's just encourage one another. And I just think that even in this, you know, YouTube community, it's such an encouraging community. Someone was just asking me, I went to the Roots Flower Farm tour with the AFCFG in Pennsylvania last week. I was gone. It's an 8.5-hour drive. Oh my goodness. And on the way home, we had like a deluge of rain, and it was a little scary. We were all driving 15 miles an hour on Route 80 through Pennsylvania. We made it safely home, just slightly delayed. My employee went with me, and she was asking me if I get negative comments on YouTube. And I was like, not really, like almost never. Like, I just feel like this is such an encouraging community here on YouTube, and that just totally translates into the membership as well. And so I just want to thank you all for being such great supporters and viewers and commenters. And if you do like my content, if you just subscribe and hit the hype button, that's like a new thing on YouTube. I don't even really know what it means, but apparently it's a thing. And if you hype the video, like it and hype it, it like tells YouTube that you like my content and you like the videos, and then it'll show it to more people. So if you can join the community, if you would do me the honor of just, you know, for free, spending the next 1 second, you know, subscribing, liking, and hyping. And if you comment, it shows that, you know, you really like my content. Okay, we've gone on and on here. You should watch the next video all about, I don't know, pick a woody video. There's like a whole playlist about other woody stuff. And the next video is going to be all about how I get such long stems on hydrangeas. So be on the lookout for that. And I just really appreciate you all. And I hope you have a great day. I got to go inside because I've had 2 kids come out and tell me that my toddler who I'm trying to potty train pooped and there's poop all over his room. So that's what I got to go take care of. See you later.